So the chapter opens up with us seeing Deborah hit Maharaga at sublight speed, because in the previous chapter we saw that Maharaga had like fully adapted to Deborah's like light beam curse technique thing. So Deborah figured, oh, I'm basically screwed at this point. I might as well try to beat him down with brute force because that's essentially the only thing I have left. But I can also kind of move near the speed of light. And this is something that he can never really do before, but he's going to just try to do it now. And he does move sub-light speed as indicated at the end of the previous chapter. And he's also like using his third eye in tandem with this. We haven't really seen the Deskunte, which is like the race of the Sumerians that Deborah is, use their third eye before. I mean, we've seen the Sumerians, I guess just Maru use the third eye, and it more or less just like lets them lock in and become even stronger or just pull out their full potential, I guess. Also, it kind of has like a consciousness of its own, question mark, but I guess it's like the same with the Deskunte. However, when he first does this, which is happening in the very first panel of the chapter, it just like hits Maharaga's shoulder. And we'll get back to this because this is extremely important. It's essentially the crux of the first half of this chapter. But he comes around and goes for a second attack against Maharaga here, but he's moving even faster. It doesn't say that he is moving literally the speed of light. It just says that more closer to light. So whether he is or not, it doesn't really matter. He's moving incredibly fast. Also, the narration says the closer he gets to the speed of light, the more the air behaves like a solid than a fluid. And just the drag of him throwing this kick at Maharaga at near light speed is like him going through like a thick layer or something. Deborah also being guided by the power of friendship here, remembering Dora, because he equates him to being a warrior, which Deborah was kind of insecure about because he was so powerful that he never really had to be quote unquote a warrior. But all of this together allows him to land this near light speed or just straight up light speed kick, it remains to be seen, on Maharaga, and it's like a freaking nuke going off. I mean, yeah, that's probably what would happen if something hit something on Earth at light speed, although maybe it would be even worse than that. I don't know. I think I saw a YouTube video before. Actually, you know what? Let's bring that up right now real quick.
Let's assume the needle is made of just iron and weighs 1 gram and is traveling at 99.9999% the speed of light. When it strikes the Earth, it will have a kinetic energy of 201 million billion joules of energy. That is the equivalent of 3 Tsar bombs, the largest nuclear weapon ever detonated. It would definitely create an impact crater, significantly smaller than if it were an asteroid because the needle is just much smaller, but definitely big enough to cause some damage. It would form a huge fireball, probably a bit smaller than this, but still much bigger than even the biggest nukes. Now, of course, this is highly theoretical and nothing can travel at the speed of light, so you don't have to worry.
Okay, so that puts into perspective what would probably happen if Deborah hit him, but obviously Deborah's bigger than a needle. You get the idea. Still pretty cool regardless. I mean, he can't just cause Armageddon because the series would be over, or maybe Yuji would do something. You know, we're going to talk about Yuji, obviously, because that's what this chapter is about, more or less. But after the smoke clears, Maharaga is just reduced to a little gristle here, and he's able to regenerate. So let's break this down. Maharaga was able to survive this because in the first page of the chapter, he was clipped by Deborah hitting him at sublight speed with brute force. And as Deborah says, maybe it's easier for him to adapt to simple brute force than some complex curse technique, which is obviously true. If he just gets hit really hard, really fast, he's like, oh, okay, that's pretty simple. I figured it out. Rather than just trying to, you know, figure out what's going on with the manifestation of killing intent light beams. So that's why we saw that in the very first page. Because if Deborah just did this, you know, light speed kick immediately, he would have killed Maharaga. So yeah, Deborah doing this might be the most impressive feat in all of Jujutsu Kaisen, like more impressive than what Sukuna and Gojo have ever done, at least just on a physicality standpoint. I mean, he's not doing like crazy domain expansion, shrinking, and modulations the way that they were in their fight, Sukuna and Gojo, but I don't think Gojo or Sukuna could replicate this. I'm actually pretty positive they couldn't, because if they could, they would have did it. So I think this answers the question that yes, Deborah is stronger than Sukuna and Gojo. Does that mean that he can defeat them in a fight? No. But if they just weren't using like techniques and stuff, yeah, he would defeat them probably. But that's where they gain the advantage over him with their skills. But regardless of that, he does enter the ranks of Gojo and Sukuna, the two characters who have actually defeated Maharaga. And I say that because he technically does defeat Maharaga. I mean, he doesn't like tame him or end the fight here, but like he would have. You know, the way that Sukuna finished Maharaga with the Hyuga, the divine flame arrow thing, and then Gojo ends him with the hollow purple. This is more than enough to have been able to defeat Maharaga, but unfortunately he got clipped and was able to adapt to it before it was able to completely vaporize him. Like the same thing would have happened if Sukuna like clipped Maharaga with the Fuga and didn't completely kill him, or, you know, same thing with the hollow purple. It's just that they were able to make direct hits on him, but just Deborah made an unfortunate little critical error. But even all of that being said, if Deborah were to fight Gojo or Sukuna, they would have to kill him very quickly, or else he would just rise to the occasion, as we see that he's about to do very soon. Because in this crazy sequence where he envisions himself like dancing with Maharaga, which is very reminiscent of the tone of like the original Jujutsu Kaisen. We haven't seen this in like Modulo yet. This is like something that Todo would probably experience. But he's like, he wants to fight more. He wants to be pushed to get even stronger and become something that he doesn't even know that he's capable of becoming. And with him going into like this flow state of motivation, within one page he figures out how to do reverse curse technique. So throwing that kick just completely burnt his leg, and he was thinking he's going to cut it off, but then he's like, wait, don't the earth sorcerers have some way of healing? Because they said that they were going to do that to Cross. And he was like, no, wait, well, since cursed energy is negative, how does that heal? Which I guess if you just know how jujitsu works or sorcery or cursed energy works, this just makes sense to you. So, well, there's got to be a way to make that positive, because when I broke the sword that Maharaga had in the previous chapter, we talked about that, the sword of extermination, which is coated in positive cursed energy as a deterrent to go against cursed spirits. He sensed that that was like different than negative cursed energy. He was like, oh, maybe that's positive cursed energy. And then he's just like, within seconds, maybe I could just do it myself. And then he does. He creates positive cursed energy and then heals his leg through reverse curse technique. So yeah, now Deborah knows reverse curse technique, and I'm sure he can heal in a very similar way to Maharaga. I mean, I don't think he's going to come back from being a gristle the way that Maharaga does, but you know, he can heal just as well as Gojo and Sukuna were. So that goes back to what I was saying about Gojo and Sukuna fighting against Deborah. They have to kill him quickly, or else he's just going to figure things out and then surpass them, because he is just stronger than them. And if he just learns the skills that they have, then there's really nothing they can do to stop him. He's just too overpowered, just inherently. He's just a genetic freak, even more so than Gojo and Sukuna were, which is pretty wild. But I guess you have to up the stakes. I mean, it goes back to what we were talking about, I think in chapter 1 or chapter 2, is where I was saying, like, yeah, you have to make Deborah stronger than them, because the stakes wouldn't make sense if he wasn't. Now that Deborah has figured out positive cursed energy, this means that he can use curse technique reversal. You know, the way that we saw Gojo using it, like when he puts positive cursed energy into Limitless, it creates like that vacuum ability, blue. So I'm sure Deborah is going to use this on his manifestation of killing intent light beam things, and then that will create a new technique, which technically Maharaga hasn't adapted to yet, and he could just kill him with that. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I could be wrong, but assuming that this would be something different that Maharaga hasn't adapted to, since he's only adapted to just the negative cursed energy, you know, the regular cursed energy aspect of the killing intent light beams. And then if that doesn't work, then he can get real spicy and do what Gojo's ultimate thing is, you know, combining negative and positive cursed energy. That's how he makes hollow purple. He could do that with the light beams and then just, I don't know, make a reality eraser beam or whatever. Like something even greater than the world cutting slash that Sukuna does. But anyway, we're cutting away from that and we're coming back to Jujutsu headquarters, and they're like brainstorming a way to stop the cursed spirits pouring out of Tokyo as a result of this fight. So they're like, okay, we've designated an additional 10 kilometers beyond the prefectures neighboring Tokyo as evacuation areas, and they've adjusted the barrier surrounding Tokyo to redirect the cursed spirits towards the ocean as much as possible. But then they're also going to have sorcerers out there to kill off any cursed spirits that are trying to escape. So this is a reason as to why they're going to encounter the Sumerians in this chapter, because the Sumerians are also in this area as well, because they think that the Earth Sorcerers are going to play dirty in this duel. They don't think they're going to respect the rules, because this guy Otsuki, like the main foiling Sumerian guy, this guy that sucks, but he's integral to the plot. He's like, we're going to make sure that they're not going to do anything, and if you encounter any Earth Sorcerers, just straight up kill them. And as he says that, he hears some of the Earth Sorcerers in the same building that they're in, and they wind up encountering each other, and they're about to just go all out, until we come to the biggest hype moment and aura farming sequence of the series, and it's Yuji finally showing up. I genuinely was not sure if this was going to happen. I mean, yeah, of course, there was thousands of Chekhov's guns everywhere building up to this sequence, but with Gege's writing, it doesn't really conventionally go off of that stuff. There was so many things that were set up in the original series that had no payoff to it, so that's why I was unsure if he was just going to do this, because I can see Gege just finding it amusing if he were to just build up and excite the audience with Yuji and then just never have that payoff. But thankfully, he did do it. I'm sorry I doubted you, Gege. I probably still will, but I appreciate that you did this at least. But Yuji is outside of the building while the Sumerians are encountering the Earth Sorcerers here. And he says, man, I told them this would happen. Not that I actually said it out loud, but still. And he has an orb of blood in his hand. When we were going over the spoilers, I couldn't see that this was blood, but I'm so glad that it is blood and not something else, because I didn't want to have to speculate it being some communicator or some kind of device or something. I'm just glad that this is blood, because he has blood manipulation from being a cursed womb and having consumed his other siblings. So first of all, we don't know why Yuji is here. He just randomly shows up. Jujutsu headquarters was looking for Yuji, but they couldn't find it. They essentially kind of gave up on it, but he's here, and he somehow knew that this was going to happen. I don't know if when he says, I knew this would happen, I don't know if he's talking about aliens. I guess he somehow knew. Hopefully Yuji actually talks or says something or gives us some exposition dump or monologue or something in the next couple chapters. But Mino comes across him and he's like, holy crap, it's Yuji! Jason Bourne. Then Yuji's piercing blood, and he puts his hands together and he shoots out dozens of these blood streams. But it's not the pressurized blast that I typically see with piercing blood. They're like tentacles almost, and they go all throughout the building and start tagging both the human sorcerers and the Rumelians here. And it looks like it's killing them, but I'm pretty sure it's not. I think it's kind of just hitting them, like a water stream would, without just piercing you, which, it's funny. It's called piercing blood, but I don't think it's piercing them. It's more so just a rubber bullet style, I guess, deterring them. And we see the blood shoot out of all of the windows in the building. And Yuji's too much. So yeah, this is showing us how strong current day Yuji is. He is an absolute beast. We knew that he was going to be. This is the highest level of blood manipulation we've ever seen. And just with one easy technique, he just completely stops the conflict between the Rumelians and the Earth Sorcerers here, at least for now. So now that Yuji is here, it's what is going to happen? Is he going to show up where Deborah and Maharaga are fighting? Because he is in Tokyo where they're fighting, so who knows how far away he is from them, but he can just get there within a chapter or just a couple pages. Now, it's awesome that Yuji is here, of course, but we have to remember that he is not the main character of Modulo. That's kind of split between Tsurugi and Yuka. And also the way that it's marketed, it tries to make it seem as though Maru is the main character, even though he's not. So that being said, Yuji just can't come and save the day, because that's just not how shonen battle mangas work. I mean, just stories in general don't really work that way, unless it was pro wrestling or something, but I don't think Yuji's gonna show up and defeat Maharaga, defeat Deborah. I mean, he could if he probably wanted to. Although I don't think he could easily take out Deborah. It would be a tough fight, as we saw. I mean, he freaking can move sublight speed or near the speed of light. Now he has reverse curse technique, but Yuji will probably get a big nice feat of just taking out all of the cursed spirits that are going to be pouring out of Tokyo as a result of the fight going on, because that was established in this chapter. Maybe he gets to do that, and then I guess maybe he'll encounter Deborah, and then maybe he'll talk to Deborah or something. I mean, I hope he fights him. I know that we were talking about them fighting a couple weeks ago, a couple months ago at this point, because it seemed like that was going to happen rather than Deborah Deborah taking on Yuka, who's just Maharaga. But things have played out obviously differently since then, so Yuji fighting Deborah at this point doesn't seem as likely. But if they do fight, then that means Deborah has to win because, like I said, shonen battle manga, the MCs have to win here, so that means that Yuka or Tsurugi have to win. So I'm really unsure as to what's going to happen with Yuji showing up here. I mean, it is possible that Yuji gets killed by Deborah, but I don't know if that's the route that Gege wants to go here. I mean, he's not shy of killing off characters. I mean, he is a little bit, but you know, he did kill freaking Gojo, so maybe he kills Yuji too. I don't want to put that out. I don't want to manifest that, guys. Don't worry, but he has to encounter Deborah at some point now that he's here, but I'm just unsure as to what's going to happen there. I mean, yeah, it would be incredible if we get Yuji versus Deborah. That's going to be like the next Gojo versus Sukuna internet breaking event, but it can only lead to Yuji losing, or some kind of weird thing that happens as to where Deborah doesn't lose. But yeah, let me know in the comments, guys. If you liked the video, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.